Hello everyone. In this tutorial I'll show you how to create this cool tags input field with HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So here we can type different tags. For example, hello. And when we press space the tag will get created. We can create tags as much as we wish to. What else we can do is when we click a tag, that tag will get removed. So let's click what tag. Boom. It got removed. Let's remove other tags also. After that we can type other tags again. Hello everyone, welcome back to this channel. Today we're going to create tags input field like you saw in the beginning. Before we start the tutorial, don't forget to link the CSS and JavaScript files. Don't forget to add defer. We use defer because it makes the HTML load before JavaScript. Also, you can get the source code of this tutorial in the video description. Let's continue. Let's first create a container div. Inside that container, create another div and give it a text area class. Inside that text area, create a div with a label class and add type tags text inside. After that, create a span element with a class of tags. Inside here we'll have span children, which will be the tags. We'll create these spans with JavaScript. Normally it will be empty, but I'll just add some to see how we're styling them. Next, create an input tag. This is where we'll type the tags. Let's open the browser to see what we have. Hello is the first tag, world is the second tag, and inside the input we can type the next tag. Now let's go to CSS. I'm using a font called Poppins. I added a 0 padding and margin to all elements. Box sizing to border box. I added the font family to Poppins and a color of white to all elements. I used CSS grid to center everything and added a dark background. Next, we'll select the text area div and give it a border of 2 pixels solid and an RGB color. A width of 500 pixel. A padding of 3 rem for top and bottom and 1 for left and right. We'll add a border radius of 0.5 rem and a position of relative. Here you can see the result how it looks for now. Next, we'll select all the spans. This not selector basically means select all the spans but not the span with a class of tags. In the HTML we can see the span with a class of tags which will wrap all the other spans, and we don't want to style it. Now let's add a background color to these spans. Let's add a padding of 0.3 rem 1 rem. A border radius of 50 view per width. A margin of 0.3 rem. A font size of 1 rem. And lastly, a display of inline block. Also, when we hover over a span tag, we want the cursor changed to an X. Basically, we'll change the cursor to an image. I'll show you the image we'll use for this. This image resolution is 16 by 16. So just set the cursor to a URL value and add this image path to it. Also, don't forget to add the auto or it won't work. Now, as you can see, when we hover, we can see that X icon. Perfect. Next, let's select the input. Input will have a border of none. An outline of none. A background color of transparent. A font size of 1 rem. A margin left of 0.5 rem. A padding of 0.3 rem for top and bottom and 0 for left and right, and a margin top of 1 rem. Here you can see it looks perfect. Next, we'll create another class called Focused. So when we add this class to text area, we want some properties to be applied to it. One is border color to be this RGB color, and we want to add a box shadow. Now let's add this class to text area manually, and we'll see the result. Here you can see the result. It looks awesome. Let's also style the label. It will have a position of absolute. Background color the same as body. Padding of 0.1 rem. A top of 50%. A transform translate Y of -50%. Pointer events to none so we can not click it. And lastly, a transition. As default, it'll be here in the middle, but there won't be any tags, so I'll just comment them. When we click in the text area, focus class will be added to that text area div. Next, we want the label to go on top. So select Focus Label. We want the label to be on top, so set the top to 0. And boom, here you can see it works. When there's not a focus class to text area, it will look like this. When we click focus class will be added to text area with JavaScript. And it will look like that. Now let's jump to everyone's favorite, JavaScript. Before we continue with JavaScript, I just wanted to tell you that I upload content to this channel every day. So if you're interested on this topic and you would like to learn some new things, please consider clicking the subscribe and like button. If you need help on the code, comment down below since I answer all the comments. Thank you. Let's jump back to JS. First, let's select some DOM elements that we need. Next, let's add a click event to text area. When we click the text area, we want to add focus class to it, and we want to focus the input by calling the focus method. As default, there won't be a focus class. Let me remove it. Alright. Text area.classlist.add focused and input.focus. Now if we click anywhere in the text area, we can see that focus class get added to it and the input gets focused. But when we click outside of the text area, we want the focus class to get removed. Let's add another event to the input, which is called blur. Blur means when focus is removed from an input, and that's exactly what we need. So first we'll check if tags container.inner text is empty. If it is, then we'll remove the focus class. If it's not, we want to add the focus class. For now, it won't work since the tags container is empty. You can see it here in the Dev Tools. But if we add something manually to HTML code, we'll see it works. There you can see even when we remove focus, the focus class will not be removed because there's content inside the tags container. Next, we'll add another event to the input called key. This basically checks every time we press a key. Let's log it to console. So if we type some letter in the input, you can see it get logged in the console. In the console, we can see which key we pressed based on each key's code. Let's log e.code. Here you can see which keys we typed: key Q, key W, key etc. What we need is to see what's the code of space. Next, we'll check if what we typed is equal to space. If it is, then we want to get the value of the input and add it to a span. Let's call createSpan function and pass the input value to it. After that, we want to clean the input value. Now let's create this function called createSpan. We'll add span text as a parameter. Inside this function, firstly, let's create a span element. Set its inner text to the span text. And we'll append this span to tags container element. Let's try it. Whatever we type here, something is not working. Let's check the code. Put that line of code inside the if statement because we don't want to clear the input every time we type, but every time we press space. Now it should work. Now if I press space, a span tag will get created, just like that. Let's create another one. If I press space when there's nothing typed, you can see a span tag gets created with empty content. We don't want that. Let's fix it. Let's check if the input value is not equal to empty. If it is not, then we will call the createSpan function. Let's try it. It's not working. Let's see. You can find the problem to the if statement. We'll check if the input value is not equal to empty space, not just empty. So press space inside the quotation marks. And as you can see, now it works. Now the last function we'll create is remove tag. Basically, when we click a span, it will get removed. Let's create this function and pass tags as parameter. Inside the createSpan function, select all the span tags that have been created using query selector all. And below it, call the remove tag function and pass these spans to it. Now inside the remove span function, for each tag we want to add a click event. and on click we want to remove that click tag, so just call the remove method. Now let's try it. Here when I click, that click tag will get removed. Before finishing this tutorial, I'd like to ask you again to subscribe. Thank you and see you next time.